Welcome back, lovely ladies. Today we're talking about the differences between men and women in terms of morality and sinfulness. Today's socio-political climate emphasizes the sins and the wickedness of men, especially in terms of how it affects women. When we're looking at how women are abused by men, it is very easy to latch onto that as the egregious sin it is. Yes, I fully concede it's something that should not exist in our society at all, and that men must treat women with kindness and gentleness. I'm not denying that sexual harassment does not exist and abuse of women by men does not happen. I'm aware of it and do not whatsoever condone it. So the point of this video is to not place emphasis on what men do against women, but instead to bring some balance back into this equation, because there is no or little, very little mention of what women can do against men. If we don't look at the complete picture, there will always be an injustice, and there will also be an increased hatred between the genders and an increased distrust, a disruption and a dysfunction within marriages because of the way male and female relations are taught, and the perception that men are monsters basically and women are helpless and innocent. So I have talked about the vulnerability of women, and that women are in many ways at the mercy of men. You can watch that video and see what that really means from a Christian perspective, because God made us. That is how it works, how it's meant to work. It is not wrong that women are vulnerable. In fact, it's a beautiful thing. So you can watch the video and just gain some context on that to see where I stand on it. In this video, I want to actually show that women have an influence and a power over men in certain ways, and today's culture seems to largely ignore these truths and this persuasion that women have over men and the influence. Regardless of how much actual political or social-political power she has, she still has a psychological power over her husband or the man that loves her, or even any man that is attracted to her. Scripture tells us in Romans that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. That is women and men. Women are not saints. Women are not angels. We are fallen as men. And the verse just before it says there is no difference. Even the righteousness of God, which is by faith of Jesus Christ, unto all and upon all that believe, for there is no difference. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. We have to be fair about these things. To take note of the woman's wrongs is not to sweep the man's wrongs under the carpet. That's not at all what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about actually being honest here and noting the full picture. So let's start with Proverbs 31. We all know about this one, talking about what a virtuous, good woman looks like and what she does. Not what she looks like, what she does. Many of us tend to get hung up on the high standards that this chapter proposes for women. But if we go to the very beginning of this chapter and we look at the context, we see that yes, it is describing a very high standard for women, but it is also directed at a man. So it's directed at a king, actually, King Lemuel. So it starts off by saying, the words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son, and what the son of my womb, and what the son of my vows? Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. Now that's quite a profound statement. The implication here is that women have great power over men, even kings, and they have the ability to destroy kings. That is quite an accusation, is it not? And yet we can look at some examples, even in the Bible, where the wisest man ever known, King Solomon, with all his many wives and all his wealth and the admiration and respect he got from kings and queens worldwide and everybody. His subjects loved him. He was renowned for his splendor and his great knowledge and wisdom. His demise was his wives. These women led him astray. They had the power to bring him down. Doesn't sound like they were quite as hamstringed as feminists would like to believe. So that's a negative example of the power a woman has, regardless of her social status. Remember, King Solomon had concubines, and these concubines and wives led him astray because they all had pagan religions. And despite his relationship with God, his connection with God, these women affected him so deeply that he began to partake in their rituals and their wicked sacrifices. He accommodated them. They had an effect on him. How does this happen? How does a woman change a man's mind in this way? How does a woman have this kind of effect and impact on a man's thinking? So possibly one of the greatest sins is the abuse of power. But how does this apply to women and the way that a woman can abuse her power? Well, Proverbs 31 verse 30 says, "Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain." Once again, remember, this entire chapter is a mother warning her son of the dangers of a lawless woman, a woman who will drag him down. She sees great potential in her son. She sees the potential of a man to be strong and integrous and to build up society, stand up for the weak, and be a good man and find himself a good wife. She's foreseeing the possible cause of his demise and warning him of how he has control over this, and he can choose which way his life will go through the kind of woman he marries. So what is this power a woman has over her man? It is the power of seduction. And she doesn't just have this power over her husband or boyfriend. She can have it over any man that possibly is attracted to her, or she can even practice her seduction in a way that she increases her power over men. And any weak man without discretion, without wisdom, without strength of will can be led astray by her. Now, once again, I'm not judging all these recent allegations that are coming up in the courtrooms against men in power. I have no knowledge of what actually happened in those situations, especially because they happened so long ago. How do we even know? I am not passing any judgment on that. But I am saying that there is a convenient ignoring of the power women hold over men in terms of temptation and seduction, and that this is an act a woman can willingly do to overpower a man sexually. And this is why scripture has very clear lines about sexual morality. It's confined to marriage. It's to be considered as something sacred and something beautiful between two people who have made a vow to be faithful to each other. And in this way, the simplicity of it is maintained, and you don't get all these messy situations, because once a woman changes her mind about the experience she has afterwards, it gets very messy, and it's very, very hard to discern what actually happened and what the motives of each party was. Now, the Bible talks about a strange woman. Proverbs 5, "For the lips of a strange woman drop as an honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil, but her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold of hell." Very harsh judgment of the strange woman. Doesn't get worse than that, does it? Her feet take hold of hell. Now, this is not passing judgment over all women that ever lived. There's context here. The strange woman. Who is the strange woman? It is the woman that is not the man's wife. It is possibly more specifically a prostitute or a temptress. The context here is very important. A married woman can become an adulterer and become this strange woman to someone else. There are many examples of who this strange woman could be. Very interestingly, the next verse is, lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them. The way of a woman's seduction, impossible to pin down, and that is why it is so easy to ignore the sexual sins of a woman. I'm not accusing anybody here. I don't know your heart. I don't know any woman's heart that stands up and accuses a man. But we can't ignore this truth about the art of seduction and how women abuse it. This does happen, and I think it happens a lot more than we would like to admit, because any woman who thinks her body is her own to use as she wishes outside the context of marriage is foolish. She's foolish and she's mistaken. Her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them. Temptation leaves no traces, and motives are hidden in the heart of the perpetrator. As a woman, I'm speaking to women, and we need to be honest with ourselves. We really need to be honest. There is no time to play around. There is no time to play around. This is all serious. It has eternal consequences. Even within a faithful marriage, a woman can abuse her influences over other men, not only over other men, but more specifically over her husband. We've spoken about sexual influence over men, but there is also that influence a woman has over a man's psyche when she is close to him, when she is his life partner. She can insult his integrity, and she can degrade his accomplishments with her words and her thoughts and her attitude. She can provoke him with insidious words that wears him down and eventually can even reduce him to a coward. So her psychological power over her husband is either disastrous or monumentally positively influential. It depends how she wields this power. Now, many of you might be saying, oh yes, but that's just human psyche. We can all break each other down or build each other up. Well, you need to watch my video on all the studies that have been done about the differences between the way men and women think, and also the different motivations we have that drives us through life. There is a very clear distinction. And yes, to some degree they do overlap. We have overlapping desires and needs. I think the best way to explain it is that men have a different currency to women. Men and women may be doing very similar things. Their currency is different. So the currency of a man is honor. Honor is his key to practical success in the world and to gaining respect. On the other hand, a woman is driven by increasing her desirability. At the root of it, that is what drives women. The essential core ingredient in this for a woman is her inner and outer beauty. And the Bible makes it clear that outer beauty it's nice, but it's not that meaningful. So inner beauty is of great price in the sight of God. Scripture is not belittling women in any way when it calls us to pursue inner beauty. That is the currency of a woman, and it will in fact bring you the greatest satisfaction. Modern women have made a major shift in their currency to a more masculine currency of honor and respect. It doesn't fit the feminine heart. The feminine heart cannot be forcibly changed into a masculine heart. It will not be satisfied by accomplishing masculine and pursuing the masculine. That is why Proverbs 31 emphasizes so much what the woman does and downplays her physical beauty, because what she does enhances her inner beauty and makes her a more treasurable and desirable person to have at your side as a life partner. So if we can't recognize the sins of women and the deceptiveness of charm, we will never have the ability to put on humility and to actually work from the inside out to make a good change in the world, to have the humility to recognize our own sins within our marriages and how we are actually in any way contributing to our husband's downfall, contributing to any of his struggles, and in that way being able to strengthen our homes, strengthen our community, and thereby the nation. Once again, I'm not judging any particular situation because I cannot know your heart. But if we do not have that humility, there is no way forwards. We must have that humility because we are sinful. Our hearts are inclined towards sin. And if we don't have that repentant heart and the ability to admit our sin and to take it to the Lord and ask Him to renew us, we're not getting anywhere. So let's close with Romans 12 verse 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Alright, my sisters, I hope this has blessed you, and I hope you receive it in the way I intended it to be said. And may you be blessed. Remember to take everything to the Lord in prayer and to walk with humility. Love you. Bye.